I want to bring on Darius Muhammad with High Equity Group. He is going to show you how to navigate this funding and finance field, and I believe he's going to be touching on some credit too. So, Mr. Muhammad, can you please bring yourself up to the stage?
I'm hustling, every day 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 I'm hustling. She got the pointer. Hold on. You got the clipper.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Think you're fucking with. Everybody enjoying themselves so far?
Yeah.
Was that information helpful?
Yes, it was.
Let's give her a round of applause for the wonderful job she did. It's very, very, very hard to get in front of people and speak, whether it's those that you know or those that you don't know. You never realize how nervous this can be until you actually get up here and start talking. And all these butterflies get to going, and you be like, what's my name again? So it's very nervousing. So I want to thank her for going through that fear and doing it. She knows her job, and this is the crazy part about it. You know your job, but when you got to tell people about your job, you get nervous and can't talk about your job, right? So let's get into this money. That was the salad and the soup. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes. Is that cool with y'all?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what we want to talk about is understanding what financial literacy is. What is it? Does anybody have any idea what it is? Yes, sir. What you got?
Financial literacy is just the knowledge, basic knowledge
Okay.
on finances.
Okay. Anybody else? Yep.
Like how to get the best for your money, like knowing different things behind the scenes, or like even knowing certain terminologies, but you can utilize the best, get the most out of whatever you do, and even low interest rates, all kinds of stuff.
Okay. As we get ready to go down this journey, I want you to understand one thing. There is no right or wrong answer. The only thing I would try to do is expound on the information that you know to make sure that you enhance that before you leave here. That's my job, all right? So when we go into it, it's the ability to understand and effectively use various financial skills, which include personal financial management, budgeting, and investing. A lot of us learn personal financial management to a certain degree or a small degree, right? Some of us understand a little bit about budgeting. There was a famous rapper said, the way my banking account goes, my checking account's over here and my savings account over here. So I take some money out of my savings account and put it in my checking account and I pay my bill. If that's how you budget, that's how you budget. Everybody is on their own level. The idea is to make you be able to enhance that and take it a step further. These skills are of the utmost importance, and you got to make sure you take advantage of them. Also, these skills are used to set up your legacy and to help you build personal wealth. I don't know nobody in here who don't want to have personal wealth, right? No, nobody in here who want to build something and not be able to give it to your children, to your legacy, right? The Rockefellers is one that everybody knows, the DuPonts. They were very instrumental on creating a certain platform of information and making sure that their children had it. And they created a system that they, generations after they were gone, is still going into effect as we speak today. But today we're going to tackle credit. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Let's understand what it is. What is credit? Simplest way to explain what credit is my word is bond. If I say I'm going to show up for something, I got to show up. If I say I'm going to give you something, I got to give it to you. If I say I don't have it and I really have it, is that saying my word is not bond? No, that's saying maybe your word's not bond. It's the ability. Understand now, this is the noun version of it. It's the ability to obtain goods, services before the payment is due. I got a good friend of mine. We would always have a conversation. And anytime money came around, he would say to me, how much it costs? What is the money due? Where's the money coming from? Because we understand that some people got terrible credit, personally and professionally, right? How many of y'all know somebody in your personal family that got bad credit with you? That they can ask you for $5, you tell them, nope, I ain't got it, because your word ain't worth nothing, right? Let's look at the verb form of credit. It is publicly acknowledging something that is publicly acknowledged, something that is broadcasted, sometimes it's published. It basically means it's for you to take responsibility. When something happens in your life, you are the architect of something good in somebody else's life. You want to be able to take responsibility for that, right? If you did somebody a good service. On the flip side, if you do something bad for somebody or your children do something bad, somebody got to take responsibility, right? That's just other forms of understanding what credit means. Now, we talked earlier today about the reporting systems. Do you know one thing, or let me ask the question this way. How many of you, by show of hands, believe that the credit reporting agencies are federal companies? Please raise your hand if you believe that. If you believe that Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, that they are a federal company. If you believe that they're not one, please raise your hand. If you don't know, raise your hand. Okay. I want to figure out who I'm talking to. TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian are private companies, just like FedEx is not a federal company. All right? They are individual, privately owned companies that make money selling your information without your permission. But when they do it, it comes up like this. So there's something called a FICO score. There's something called a Vantage score. Why is there a difference between these two scores? How do you find these two scores? Most people, if you look at your credit report, a lot of y'all use Credit Karma. Yes? No? Yes. You may actually have a bank account or a credit card that may allow you to also have access to your credit report, but not your credit score, right? So 9 times out of 10, the ones that you're going to be looking at is going to be a Vantage score. You have a very small number of banks that use a Vantage score. So when you go to Credit Karma or any of these other platforms that use a Vantage score, that score is no good to you because everybody else is going to be using FICO. And you can see there can be a difference between 100 to 120 points from Vantage to FICO. All right? But understand that there's some things in here that's going to be similar, but basically it's a scoring model. So it's almost like if me and Marvin was watching a Tyson fight. Marvin is going to go and give Tyson so many blows because of so many left hooks and right hands and whatever he does. And I say I take Riddick Bowe. And I'm giving my opinion on my score based upon what Riddick Bowe did. If anybody don't know boxing, I'm sorry, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. But you know what? Here's a better example. How many times this is going to be for the sisters, how many times have you went with somebody, y'all went shopping, and she tried something on, and she asked you how I look in it? You could tell the truth, or you could tell what she want to hear. Depending upon who it is, y'all relationship, and how she really look, then y'all give y'all opinion based upon that, right? So let's go a little further. What is a Vantage score? It was introduced in 2006. It was developed for Experian, Equifax, TransUnion to create a more predictable scoring model. They emphasized on total credit utilization and balances. What does that mean? If I have a $10,000 credit card and I use $8,000 of that credit card that reports to my report, that deals with my credit utilization. I have $2,000 left over as my available credit. But when report time comes, I'm being reported that I owe this company $8,000. That's my balance. You understand that part? So the Vantage score weighs heavily on the credit utilization and the balances. Discover, Credit Karma, American Express, Capital One. These are programs or companies that will give you a copy of a Vantage score. What is a FICO score? FICO score is a company called Fair Isaac Corporation. They were established in 1989. They weigh more on your payment history. So every time you make a payment on your credit card, your car note, your mortgage, or whatever it is that you have, this is what gives them the biggest portion of your report that they use to give your score. Citibank, Barclays, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America, they all use that system to be able to give you your report. So you're better if you have one of these accounts to use that number as what your credit report or credit score, I should say, really is. That's more accurate to when you go to apply for another card, a car, a house, or whatever it is you're going to apply for. Those will be better for you to use as your baseline. Let's talk about your credit report. How should it look? You have 35% of it is your payment history. You have 30% of it is the amount you owe or your balance. 10% of it is for new credit cards or new lines of credit, whatever it is that you have. Some people refer to them as trade lines. 15% of them is your history. And 10% of that is your credit mix. Meaning, if all you have gotten is a car note, you got rid of one car, you got another car. That's just one type of product. They want to see you being able to juggle multiple products. And this is what's called your credit mix. This is what your report should look like. Or it can look like, I should say. So when we go into this, we're going to talk about data points. Does anybody know what a data point is? Anybody? Data points are very important. It's one of the things that all of these bureaus look at to determine whether or not you are qualified to get whatever product they have. So if I pulled your report up, the 7 things is always going to stick out, that they're always going to look out before they look at anything else. First one is, come on, your credit score. But that's not the most important part of the report, but it is important. Then they're going to go to your name. Do you know why that's important? When is the last time? Yes.
Like looking for aliases, like if you're using a different name.
So have you ever looked at your credit report and saw a name on it that wasn't you? Mm-hmm. Have you ever looked on it and saw your name misspelled? Yes. Have you ever looked on there and saw your last name first name last? Yes. Is that how you write your name? No. So a lot of this stuff is the error of the person inputting this information. but it could be perceived by a person you're trying to get funds from as that though you're trying to do something illegal. So that's why it's very important for you to always look at your credit report so that you know what's on there before you give it to somebody else. It's almost like, I give you another story. I borrowed a car one time because my cousin was concerned that her baby father was cheating on her. So I borrowed the car, and it's the middle of winter. I didn't think I needed to ask this question. But when I got in the car in the middle of winter and we're driving, I found out there's no heat in the car. So I asked the person, well, why you didn't tell me you ain't got no heat in the car? They said, you didn't ask. So a lot of us, we submit information to people without knowing what's on it first. All right? The next thing is your address. You don't want to have multiple addresses on your credit report. All you want to have is one name and one address. Make sense? Why is that important? Yep.
Because that one name and one address shows stability and how long you've been at one place and stuff, so that's a bonus too.
Correct.
So how do you remove it?
We'll get into that. You also want to have one employer. But you can also take your employer off of you. You're not required to have your employer on your credit report.
Okay.
But if you do have multiple employers on there, you want to eliminate all but your current job. Because again, that goes into showing your stability. Okay? Then you have your total number of accounts. You have your delinquencies or your derogatories. And then you have your inquiries. All of these makes up your 7 data points. So if you ever have a conversation with somebody and they're talking to you about a product, you may hear somebody say, well, what are the data points that you use or that you have in order to get this product? So that's basically what that means. That if all these things are risk right, which what we always want to make sure everybody does, you get instant approvals. They have AI today that will do everything for you automatically. A lot of people will say to you that if you want to apply for something, you should do it between midnight and 5 a.m. In some cases, that's the truth, but in some cases, it ain't the truth. Because if all of this stuff is not in order, I don't care what time you're going to do it, you're going to get denied anyway. So as long as you make sure that all of your ducks are in a row, you're almost guaranteed to always get that instant approval. Some products, sometimes you still got to go through manual underwriting. But we want to always avoid going through manual underwriting. Yes?
So what you said, if you're going to apply for credit, apply for...
That's a hack that some people suggest online.
12 to 5.
Yes.
But that's not true.
In some cases it is, but it's not a general rule.
Okay.
So again, as long as all your stuff is in order, it don't matter what time you apply. Yeah.
I think I kind of find out over the years that is really kind of true. A lot of times in between that midnight and that time, they're not as much, it seems like, as watchful sometimes, like it's a person doing it versus what the machine may allow versus a person sitting there working.
I'm going to tell you why that's not true. That's not true.
Okay.
Because those 7 data points are the key thing. Everything is done by using artificial intelligence today. Whenever you submit an application, your application is submitted and is looked at by AI. And as long as you have these 7 data points, you're going to get the approval. There could be something else that they need. So that's why you would go to a manual underwriter or a review, and they'll tell you that they'll get back to you, but everything today is done by AI. So let's go forward. Does anybody know what CRAs are?
CRAs.
CRA. It is an acronym that's
Credit residual.
huh?
Credit residual.
Come on, come on, come on. Close. Credit Reporting Agency. So that's an acronym that they use. In my job, they use a lot of acronyms. So I'm learning that this is a industry standard, that everybody has their versions of different acronyms. All right? So the primary ones that we know about, that we just got finished talking about, was TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, right? But how many of you know about the secondaries? LexisNexis, CoreLogic, SageStream, Innovis, ARS. And there's even more than that. There's over 250 secondary credit reporting agencies. Everybody collects certain data about you. And here is the key point about it. They collect your information. They sell your information to other people without your permission. To go even further than that, they do all this without you even knowing they're doing it. So imagine I come into your house. I rummage through your closet, and I take your clothes out your house, and I go put them online for sale. And everybody go buy them, so all the clothes is gone. I made all the money. I ain't gave you nothing back, but I didn't tell you I came in your house. So you come home one day and you like, what happened to all my clothes? So now you about to file a police report, not knowing that I just walked in there and took it, because I saw it. Right? That's what they do to your personal information. Now, here are some things to know. As she talked about before, some important dates. You need to understand what your statement date is, what your report date is, and what your due date is. These dates are very, very important. Your statement date is basically when your statement was mailed. Okay? Your report date is the date that the information is going to the CRA to be reported on your credit report. And your due date is the day that it is due. Something wrong? Oh, okay. So, if you pay your credit card or your car note or your rent on the due date, it's late. You know why? Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be paying it online. And in some cases, it takes up to 3 days for them to receive it. If your due date is on a Friday this week, and you pay the payment on Friday, they're not going to get the payment until Monday. So you're late.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Well, late, but they say by the grace day, it's going to have that date on it. The grace day.
The date doesn't count until they get it in their bank. So if you do it on Friday and they get the payment on Monday, it's technically late. Now, most companies, they have a 30-day window, but any date after the date is due is considered late, and they can gig you or report you as making a late payment.
Wow.
So the rule of thought is always try to make your payment go out at least 3 days before the due date, if that makes sense. So, what are inquiries? We talked about that earlier today, right? And brother was asking the questions about inquiries. Well, there's 2 types of inquiries. There's a hard inquiry or a hard pull and a soft pull. When you go, as she was talking about earlier today, to look at your credit before you get ready to purchase a house, that is a soft inquiry, that it does not hurt you. So I can look at my credit report every single day to see what's on there. Like when people use Credit Karma, they look at their report every single day or once a week or whatever your schedule is. None of those hurt you because they're soft inquiries. But whenever I go to Saks Fifth Avenue and I want to apply for a Saks card, or I go to Mahoney County Chevy and I want to buy me a new Chevy or whatever it is, Those are going to be hard inquiries. And every time I get a hard inquiry, depending upon the product, is going to be anywhere from 6 to 10 points that it drops. Why does it do that? Because inquiries hurt your score negatively. It's almost like if I'm married to that woman back there, right? Every time I go and I see a sister on the street, I give her my personal phone number. That's an inquiry. And that's going to hurt my relationship with my wife. Because she's going to say, why every time your ass go outside, you give us a woman your damn phone number? Right? So that's what an inquiry is for you from a credit-like situation. Make sense? Okay. Yes.
So is it an option for them to, so when you do a hard pull versus soft pull, is it a difference in the information that you're given and using those two methods? Can you go somewhere to a car lot, for example, and they pull a soft pull and still see the information, or is it that they have to pull a hard pull to get all the information?
Does anybody here know the answer to that? Not you.
I don't.
What is it? What is it?
So there is, the answer to that question is yes and no. With information comes more knowledge that you can use to your advantage. Certain, and I'm going to get into that later on in the presentation. So if you can hold that, let me go through some more of this stuff and I'll make sure I address that question. All right? So, because coming up right now, here are some credit cards that you can actually get without having a hard inquiry. These are what's called a soft pull credit cards. The Bilt, the Apple card, the GMC cards, right? These two are basically owned by the same company, Goldman Sachs. So you can apply for these two cards in particular and get approved for those cards with a soft inquiry. So what happens is once you decide that you want to accept either one of these cards, you will accept the offer and then they will do a hard inquiry. But anytime you actually try to apply for anything, for them to be able to justify giving you the money, they have to be able to have access to all of your information, and the company who did the inquiry has to be reported to your credit report as an inquiry. When the company does a soft pull, that company's information is not reported to your file. That's the difference. Okay? So, I need some water. Oh man, Ramadan, I gotta hurry up. So, how do credit card companies make money? Does anybody know? Option one, if you don't pay your balance in full every month, you gotta pay interest, right? Option number two, if you don't pay it at all and your information is charged off. Option number three, they charge the merchant or anywhere that you go to use your credit card. They charge that particular person 3.5% interest, well, 2.9 to 3.5 plus 5 cents, 10 cents, depending upon the company, is charged to that particular person for them to be able to accept your card. So all three of these methods is how they make money. We're going to talk a little bit about budgeting. Anybody here does a budget? A little bit? What do you do?
Right now.
No, Sister Margie, what do you do?
I write it down. I had to make some big spreadsheets to follow that before.
Does it work out for you? You say no?
It did, but it fell off, so I guess.
You got some? You budget? You go left hand, your left pocket to right pocket?
I'm trying to like do it where they tell you to write down everything that you spend, the spending, and stuff like that, and then write down the bills, and then when you do add and subtract or divide, I guess I would be in both pockets.
Well,
That's
so
why I'm here.
what is a budget, right? A budget is a roadmap to achieve a financial goal. Okay? You got to understand that point. If there is a goal you're trying to reach, you have to have a way to get there. That could be retirement, college tuition, building your legacy, buying a boat, buying a house, buying a car, going on vacation, whatever it is. You got to have an idea of how you're going to get there. And as my brother said, how much it costs, where the money coming from, when the money due. That's part of your budget, right? But, quick question. How many of y'all ever been to Idaho? Nobody? Okay. Would you actually get in your car and just start driving until you get there? Does that make sense? That don't make no sense, do it? But every day, we travel with no money, in no direction, with no aim, no purpose, no intention. We just driving financially. And that's why we don't have the things that we need or that we want, because we ain't got no direction in where we going. We just spending money.
Right.
Hoping one day that I'm going to make it rich.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid if we go into the corner store and we play the lotto. Yeah, well, go play. If you hit, hey, come see me. So, here are just a few ideas about budgeting. Something called the 50-30-20 rule. What does that mean? 50% of your money that you come in goes to your needs, 30% goes to your wants, and 20% goes to your savings. Make sense? Go ahead, I'll let you write it down. So we got another one, right? The 50-20-20-10 rule. 50% for your needs, 20% for your wants, 20% for your savings, and 10% for personal development. Because if I can't change this and how I view those things, all of this don't mean nothing. So I have to take some time to invest in myself. And investing in myself means I need to, oh, come on, I messed up my clicker. Investing in myself means I need to get some personal development, however that looks to you. All right? Then we're going to go into the 40-30-20-10 rule. 40% of these things are for what you need. 30% are your expenses. 20% is for your retirement goals, like retirement or your pension or whatever it is, your children's college tuition. And then you have 10% that's for your insurance protections. All of these things could be something that you could use, or they could be simple. You say, that ain't me. My job is to let you know you have options. Whatever you decide to do, that's for you to figure out, but we need to understand how to budget. But the question is, which one of these works best for you? That ain't for me to tell you. But from what we just talked about, I want everybody to really go home and think about your money and how you're managing your money. Do you have a budget in place or a system to properly manage your money? If not, why? And let's work on getting that into a reality. Now, here's the fun part. Funding. That's where the money comes in at, right? Do you know, before you apply for a credit card, where they gonna pull from? Here are some banks and where they pull from. And we're gonna go further into this as to why this is important. Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. There's a bank called FNBO that only pulls from Experian. PayPal only pulls from Experian. PNC Bank only pulls from Experian. Digital Federal Credit Union pulls from Equifax. So does Chevron Federal Credit Union. So does Langley Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal pulls from TransUnion. Huntington Bank pulls from TransUnion. Fifth Third Bank pulls from TransUnion. All of this stuff is very important. Can anybody tell me why?
Because they want experience. Well,
I see you. Let her finish.
I think the one that they go by is mostly Equifax. So I think that that's the main one that they want to pull from. So that's the one that you want to make sure that everything that's reporting to that is
Accurate.
yeah.
That's part of it. What's your answer?
Like, if I'm going to, a certain bank, a certain place, like, that I'm going to get this loan for, I'm gonna make sure that that thing, that, report is correct, because that's where they're pulling from.
The same thing she said, that's partially right. There's something called credit card stacking, which could be very beneficial to you. It's also known as card sequencing. It is the process of getting multiple cards at one time. But all of this starts with having one goal in mind. It's like I talked about the drive to Idaho. You wouldn't just get in the car and drive. But all of us apply for credit cards without a reason, an aim, or a purpose for applying for cards to get a certain thing. We go to the store and see something we want to buy, and the cashier says, "Do you have this particular store card?" "No, I don't." "Well, we will get 10% off the sale if you get this credit card," right? And most of us say, "Okay, give me the credit card, give me the 10%. But you probably never going to use that store card again. I have a Best Buy credit card that I got 20 years ago. And outside the one time when I used that card to buy my cell phone, I've never used that card again. So we need to understand why we're using these cards and what cards we're getting and why we're getting them. So here's an example. Why it's important to know what bureau or what reporting agencies these cards pull from. I want to be able to get 3 credit cards with 1 inquiry. How do I do that? Anybody? Yes?
You pick the card that comes from that same income.
Come on. You get it.
Same thing.
So I want to pick 1 credit card that reports to Experian, 1 credit card that reports to TransUnion, that pulls from, I should say, and 1 that pulls from Equifax. So I have 3 different credit cards, but I have 1 inquiry on each bureau.
How do you know?
Because I'm going into it with that intention. I know that FMBO pulls from Experian. I know Apple pulls from TransUnion. I know Langley pulls from Equifax. So the inquiry is only going to show up on that bureau. It's not going to show up on all 3. If I try to apply for Capital One is going to apply on all 3 of these. So you got to know who pulls from what.
How do you do the research to find out? Though?
GOOGLE.com.
Okay. They'll tell you that information?
If you know how to search for it.
Okay.
Or you can find somebody who does it and ask them, like me. Right? So this is my first sequence, right? What if I got $10,000 from each one of these credit cards? How much money did I just get?
30,000.
With 1 inquiry, right?
Yes.
What if I waited 30 days and I did it again? So I found another card that pulls from Experian. I found one that pulls from TransUnion. I found one that pulls from Equifax. I got 10,000 again from each one of those. How much money do I have? With 2 inquiries. If I did it again, I got 90,000. Right? If I did it again, that's 120,000. 4 inquiries. But I just made $120,000. But here is the key I always, and I can't stress this enough. If you don't know what you're going to do with the money, don't get it.
Yeah.
Do not get it. Why would I say that? If I got you a 24-month 0% interest credit card, right? For, say we got $10,000. You had no idea what you wanted to do with that money. 18th month rolls around. You say, you know what, Darius, I've been thinking. There's this house around the corner from me. They want $5,000 for it. Can I use my credit card to buy the house? Oh yeah, I can show you how to do that. But here's what happened. Now you got 6 months at 0%. So now you need to take that money real quick, do what you gotta do, flip it, whatever you're gonna do with it, get that money back and pay it back to avoid paying interest. But if you knew you was gonna do this before you applied for the card, you could see the house, go get the $10,000, 0% interest, take 2 years to do what you gotta do and not pay a dime in interest. Understand why white people stay rich. Because they know what the hell they doing. We bubbling around, farting, trying to figure stuff out, and we just keep messing up. Because some of us just don't want to listen. Some of us just don't want to be taught. But it ain't that hard if we sit back, ask questions, and try to figure it out. Right? So now let's go a little further. So we talked about stacking. This is just what I was just talking about. You get multiple cards that pull from one bureau, one reporting agency, right? So now what happens when you start to really get good at this? You can do what I call finessing, right? What happens now when I'm able to pull one inquiry but I can get multiple products from the same bank? How would that look to you? So, if I took you to U.S. Bank and I introduce you to my girl at U.S. Bank and I take you in there and I get you $50,000 in a line of credit, I get you $14,000 in a business credit card, and I get you $14,000 in a personal credit card. That's $78,000 from one bank, one pool. See how that makes sense? Now, and I don't want to go into business funding yet, but all we do is once we do that, repeat the process over and over and over and over. But understand you need to have a goal in mind. And you need to also know how you're going to pay this damn money back. That's the key. You got to have your exit plan, right? All right. So what's next? Business funding. Huh? Sure, go ahead. How many in here actually have a business? Y'all okay?
Yeah.
Gotta run?
Yeah, I gotta go actually take care of my business.
Hey, man, that's what I'm talking about.
We got a comedy show running around the States tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in town.
Okay.
Me too.
Hey, do what you gotta do. But I'll make sure y'all get this last part. Thank you for coming. And I hope y'all learned something.
I did.
All right. So, we're going to go into business funding and wrap this up real quick, all right? So, for those of you who don't have a business that want to get into business, You need to understand one thing about that. You need to ensure that your business and your structure is properly set up. That's going to determine whether or not you can get this money or not. First thing you have to do is set up an LLC. When you set your LLC up, you need to make sure that the name is as vague as possible. What's your name?
My name is
Yeah.
Alicia.
Alicia. Okay? What you want to do, business-wise? Just give me any idea. The first thing from your head.
Be an author.
Be an author? Okay. Give me something else.
Be a poet. Is that the same thing?
Same thing.
Be a veterinarian.
Okay. So, now, say I'm setting up Alicia's veterinarian services, right? Or I'm doing aliciasbooks.com or incorporated, whatever it is. You're limiting yourself in the funding that you can get based upon the name of your company. So your name should need to be as general as possible. So you can put on Black and Burgundy Enterprises. That's your company. They ain't got no idea what you do. So that when you go to apply for any kind of funding, you tell them what you do. But if I look at your name and there is a list that you will start understanding the more you get into this. It talks about something called high risk industries. And if you have a high risk industry business, they ain't giving you nothing. You do cannabis, you do guns, you do money exchanges, you do real estate, you do trucking. There's a lot more industries out there, they ain't giving you nothing for it. Right? So you want to make sure your name is as vague and general as possible. Leather Jacket Enterprises. Right? I ain't gonna use Nike because they already got that. Blue and Black Outfit Solutions. As vague as possible. Then you're gonna go get your EIN from the irs.gov. Then you want to get your business address. Where you live at is not considered a business address, even if you conduct business at your address. And it's also not a safe thing to put, because you're putting your information on a public domain. And you don't want somebody to get mad because they read your book and now they feel suicidal and they come to your house and kill you. You don't want that, right? So you never want to put your personal information as your business information. Okay? You want to have a business email address. And the business email address is not burgundyandblack@gmail.com. Because if you ever bought, you got a Puma store, you're not going to email Puma about the complaint that you got with your hoodie, puma@yahoo.com. That's not business, right? You're going to say, this is a $1 billion company. Why the hell they got yahoo.com as their email address? Well, they look at us the same way. But we don't understand that. You need to have a business website. You need to have a business phone number. There are some tricks you can do, some temporary things that you can do, but these are the things that you need to make sure that you have, and you also need to have a DUNS number. DUNS number is not as important, but it is important when you go into this thing. These things lay the foundation to make sure that you have everything that you need to go get some money from the bank for your business. This part is to be continued. All right? Now, question for you. How many of you say, if I knew then? If I knew then, what I know now, what would I do? Right? But how many of you actually take what you know now and give it to what you should have known then in the example of your children or your nephew or your niece or your little cousin or way them little cousins, right? That's why I decided I was going to make a comic book to start teaching children about financial literacy. Because at some particular point, we have to stop perpetuating the same stereotype, the same cycle of poverty, the same cycle of not knowing and making an excuse that they didn't teach me this stuff in school. Right? So if you're interested and you want to help with the support of this, it's all optional. See my wife in the back and she will show you how we can get it. This is the first draft of this. There's some things about it that I like. There's some things about it that I want to change. But every time we make a revision to this, we will make sure that you get a copy of it with the updates on it. But I'm creating a series, okay? And this, I believe, could be one way that we could use to help our children understand financial literacy at a small level. I have my 9-year-old reading this, and he was my litmus test because the first book that I wrote, I had him looking at it. He was like, Dad, these words are too big. I don't understand these words. So I had to make it more simpler. And that guy back there, he said, I like it. So once he gave me the thumbs up, it was golden. All right? So that will conclude that. Here's the wrap up. Have a plan before you apply. Study to improve. Check your credit file. Look for errors. Don't spend what you can't pay back. Any questions? So did I get them all throughout the presentation? Yes, ma'am?
I have questions other than that. That's very cool.
You said you have no other questions?
Not dealing with that.
Okay, so let me conclude this then. Thank you all very much. And I pray that this helps you. We want to make sure that we work to make sure that we know more today than we knew yesterday. Thank you. Have a good night.